Welcome back, everyone, to this new single-part story. This is the longest video we have ever put out, so we really hope you enjoy the story. As I walked to my school's auditorium for an assembly, I thought about what was soon going to be happening to me. You see, this wasn't any normal assembly. For starters, there were only going to be 10 students going, one of them being me. Second of all, we were going to be trading bodies with someone else after the talk finished. I understand that what I just said might sound a bit confusing, so let me explain everything from the beginning. My name is Adam, and I'm currently working through my last year of high school. My school runs a very unique program each year where they aim to teach empathy to students in a way that can only be described as unconventional. They find 10 students, 5 male and 5 female, and then get one of the boys to swap bodies with one of the girls. The theory is that spending some time in the body of someone from the opposite gender will help students see the world from another perspective, teaching them empathy. While it all sounds pretty crazy, the program has been really successful, with the school and students who had done it claiming it works and they learned something new. Now, when I heard that the program had come back this year and that they were looking for students to participate, I was going to just ignore it. I had no interest in signing up. Despite me not wanting to sign up for it, my parents really wanted me to do it. My mom especially would not stop hassling me about it. She was convinced that me signing up for the program would really benefit me. I don't think she was wrong. I could see how the program might benefit me, but still, surely there were other ways to learn empathy than becoming a girl. That really should have been the end of it all. I told my mom I wasn't going to sign up for it, and that she should stop asking me to do so. Because of this, you could probably imagine my surprise when, a few days later after school, my mom came to me and told me she had signed me up for the program. I'd be lying if I said I wasn't angry. It really annoyed me. Even worse, though, when I told my mom I wasn't going to go, she threatened to ground me for a month. Apparently, she believed the program was so important that I just had to go. Let's now return back to where this story started, as I was walking to the auditorium. The only thing I had with me was my backpack with a bunch of my clothes and other essentials. Everyone participating had to bring one to give to the person they were swapping with. As I was about to arrive, I mentally prepared myself for the swap, and then opened the double doors and entered the auditorium. There was one of the teachers past the doors behind a desk, so I went to see her. "Hi there, I'm here for the empathy thing," I said to her. "Welcome. If you could just give me your name, you'll be good to go," she said back to me. I gave her my name, and I then watched her tick it off her list. She then gave me a sticky note with my name and a number on it and asked me to put it on my shirt. Once I was all checked in, I walked over to where everyone else was seated and sat down. I must have been one of the last people to arrive, because only a few minutes after I had sat down, the talk began. I won't bore you with the details because it wasn't very interesting, but to sum it up, their main point was that empathy was important as it allowed us to see things from other perspectives, which supposedly makes us better and more caring people. After the talk had finished, the host began talking about the next thing we would be doing, the body trade. Now that we have finished the talk, we'll start preparing for the body trade. Before we do anything, though, I want you all to have a look at the number on your sticky note and memorize it," said the man who had done the talk. Doing what he had said, I looked down at my sticky note and saw that my note showed a 4. A few seconds later, the man began talking again. "That number on your sticky note will decide who you will be trading bodies with. Each boy here will have the same number as one of the girls here. The person who has the same number as you is the person you will be swapping with." After a few more minutes of talking from the man, he told us all to stand up and go sit with the person who had the same number as ourselves. I got up and started looking around to see which girl also had a number 4. Eventually, I found her. She was an attractive ginger girl who I hadn't met before. She looked pretty happy to see me, which calmed my nerves slightly. I then introduced myself to her, and we then sat down and spoke for a few minutes together. The girl introduced herself as Olivia, and she was incredibly talkative and friendly. I wasn't sure if I was going to enjoy living as her, but I definitely wouldn't mind if she was one of my friends. Once everyone had sat down with each other, the man began talking again. "Now that you have all found your swapping partners, we can begin the swapping process. he said. He started explaining the swapping process and how it worked. It was pretty interesting, to be honest. The machine that was going to switch us required each person to stand in a tube on either side of a bunch of wiring. There was then a control panel in the middle that controlled everything. The man then explained what the machine actually did. Instead of actually swapping bodies and genders, our consciousness was the thing actually swapping. Once the man had finished explaining the process and what to expect, he asked who wanted to go first. No one ended up volunteering, though, so the man decided to pick a group at random to go first. He looked around at everyone and then pointed at the group sitting next to Olivia and I. I didn't recognize either of them, and the boy and girl didn't say anything. They just got up from their seats and walked down to where the man was standing. Everyone in the room watched intently as the boy and girl walked up to the machine and got up into their respective tubes. The man then closed the doors in the tubes and double-checked they were both ready before pressing a few things on the screen and pulling a lever. There was then a bright flash and the sound of machinery doing things. A few seconds later, the man went and opened the doors in each tube. The boy and girl then stumbled out of their tubes, looking slightly disoriented. It looked almost like nothing had happened. They looked the exact same as they did before they went in the machine. The only way you could tell something had happened was by the way they acted. It was obvious they were still processing what had happened. They were both looking down at themselves constantly, clearly still getting used to their new bodies. The man then allowed them to go back to their seats to exchange bags and talk to one another. Just before the man was about to pick the next group to go, Olivia raised her hand and volunteered us both to go next. I was a little surprised by it, but I guess it wasn't really a big deal. We would all have to go eventually. I followed Olivia to the front of the room where the man and machine was. He quickly briefed us on what to expect, and then told us to get into the tubes. By this point, my heart was pounding as I was starting to prepare myself for what to expect. Once me and Olivia were in our tubes, the man came and closed the doors. He then did one final check with us before beginning the process by pulling the lever. Shortly after, there was another flash of light that blinded me temporarily. As I was recovering from the shock caused by the flash of the light, I didn't even realize the swap had finished. The man came over and opened mine and Olivia's tube to let us out. As I stumbled out, I finally realized the swap had worked. I looked down at myself only to see Olivia's body and clothes with Olivia's ginger hair sitting on top of my shoulders. I looked up again and was fairly surprised when I saw my own body smiling back at me. This is also when I realized how much shorter I had gotten. The man turned to me and Olivia and told us everything had gone to plan and we could go back to our seats. Olivia started walking back to our seats. As she went, she gestured to me to follow. We sat back down at our seats and we handed each other our bags. While everyone else was still swapping, I decided to have a look through the bag Olivia had given me. There were a lot of clothes in there, more than enough for the 3 days we would be swapped. There were also a lot of skin and hair products and even some sanitary products. By this point, all the swaps had been completed and everyone had gone back to their seats. Once everyone had finished talking to one another, the man began talking again. All right, everyone, all of the swaps went to plan perfectly. Everyone will need to meet back in this auditorium 3 days from now to swap back to their own bodies. You are now all free to leave. Enjoy your time in another body, he said to us all. Olivia almost instantly stood up, towering over me. She then started speaking to me using my own voice. Bye, Adam. Enjoy your time in my body, she said before she grabbed the bag I had given her and left the auditorium. Well, that was it, I guess. Olivia had left in my body, leaving me alone in her body. I picked up the bag she had given me and left the auditorium. I walked over to the school's student parking area and went to my car. I got in and quickly realized I was going to have to adjust everything. I'm not sure exactly how much shorter I got, but I was definitely no taller than 5'6". I could barely see over my car's dashboard. Once I had readjusted my car's seats and mirrors, I started driving home. Once I had arrived home, I got my bag out of the passenger seat and then went to unlock my door and head inside. Once I had entered, I instantly went to my room. I was pretty happy when I realized I was the only one home. It gave me some time to fully adjust and get used to being in Olivia's body. It also gave me some time alone to look through everything Olivia had given me to take home. I poured the contents of the bag out onto my bed and started looking through everything. There was a lot of different clothing, ranging from dresses to leggings. Olivia also included a girls' school uniform, which was going to be useful as I still had to go to school. Looking through the rest of the stuff, I found even more skincare and hair care products that I didn't see while at school. Apart from that, there wasn't much else in the bag. I wasn't really too sure what to do after I'd looked through everything Olivia had given me. Usually after school, I would play video games with my friends, but it just didn't feel right playing them in Olivia's body. I felt like I should be doing something more interesting. I only had a limited time in this body after all. After some thinking, I decided to message one of my friends and ask them if they wanted to come round to my house for a bit. After around 10 minutes of waiting, my friend Harry agreed to come round. Because we lived fairly close together, it only took a few minutes for him to show up at my door. I answered my door and, to mess with him, pretended he had come to the wrong house. He got pretty confused, so I eventually confessed. I invited him up to my bedroom and started explaining everything to him. He found the whole thing really funny, and obviously there was a lot more he wanted to know and see. After I showed him all the clothes Olivia had given me, Harry asked me if I could change out of the sweatpants and shirt I was currently wearing into something more interesting. He was particularly interested in a tight-fitting dress that Olivia had included in the bag. Harry spent a while trying to convince me, so eventually I gave in and agreed to wear it. Because I wasn't in my own body, I wasn't too worried about Harry seeing me undress, so I did it right in front of him. I could tell Harry wasn't expecting it because his eyes lit up when I took off the top I was wearing. He didn't complain about it, though. After I had removed the clothes I was wearing, I put on the dress. I was expecting to struggle a bit putting them on with how small it was, but it was surprisingly stretchy, making it fairly easy. Once I had put it on, I have to admit that I felt a little uncomfortable. Harry was really interested and spent a lot of time staring at me. I was starting to regret inviting him round to my house and agreeing to change clothes. After a few minutes of it, I changed the subject by asking Harry if he wanted to play some video games, to which he agreed. We loaded up my Xbox and played a few games together. I wasn't nearly as good as I usually was. Olivia's hands were quite a bit smaller than my hands, so I struggled at times to hit all the right moves, which was annoying. After we had played for around an hour, Harry decided to leave and walk back to his house. I was secretly relieved when Harry decided to leave. I wanted to spend some time alone. Unfortunately for me, though, only a few minutes after Harry had left, my mom and dad arrived home from work. My mom instantly came up to my room. She was really excited to see what I looked like as a girl. When she saw me, she was really happy. We chatted for a while about everything, and I tried my best to answer all of her questions. Eventually, I was finally able to get some time to myself, though, as my parents went to do other things. I didn't end up getting a lot done for the rest of the day. I tried playing some more video games, but with my new body, I found it too difficult, causing me to eventually give up and move on to something else. I then tried to do some study for an upcoming exam I had, but I kept getting distracted. I wasn't used to Olivia's long hair, so it kept getting in my way and annoying me. The clothes I was wearing were also starting to get really annoying to wear, especially the bra. That thing was so uncomfortable. Eventually, it got pretty late and I decided to go to bed. I took off the dress and changed into some pajamas, which were thankfully much more comfortable. Once I was all ready, I slid into my bed and eventually fell asleep. The next day, I was woken up by my mom much earlier than I normally got up. When I tried to complain, my mom told me that I would have to do a lot more to get ready for school as a girl than as a guy. I eventually got out of bed and went to have a shower to start off my day. Showering as a girl took so much longer than it did as a guy, especially when it came time to clean my hair. After getting out of the shower, I went to get dressed. I took the girls' version of my school's uniform out of the bag and started putting it on. It consisted of a dark red skirt with a white shirt and red sweater. There were also a pair of knee-high socks and shoes that I had to wear. Once I had put it all on, I noticed that it was surprisingly comfortable. The only things that weren't very comfortable were the shoes. They had no support in them. and the material they were made from wasn't very nice. Ignoring the shoes, I actually really liked wearing the uniform. Once I had finished getting dressed, my mom came to help me dry and put product in my hair. Apparently, it had to be done a certain way so as to not damage the hair. It wasn't fun at all. It took so long to do. By the time I was done with everything, I was already running late for school. I had to gather all of my books and leave quickly to avoid arriving late. I got into my car and drove off to school. My first class of the day was physics, one of my least favorite classes. I tried my best to focus and do my work normally, but it wasn't easy. My hair was the main issue for me. It was constantly getting in my way and annoying me. I really needed to work out how to put it up into a ponytail. Apart from the distractions caused by Olivia's body, the physics class went all right. It wasn't a lot of fun, but that was pretty normal. When the class eventually finished, we had our morning break. I didn't really want to meet up with any of my friends as a girl, especially after what had happened yesterday with Harry, so I decided I would just wait patiently for my next class and play some games on my phone. Eventually, it came time for my next class to begin. It was an English class, which I also wasn't particularly fond of. Like my last class, nothing eventful happened. Eventually, the class ended and it was time for our lunch break. Like during my morning break, I didn't go see my friends, instead just playing games on my phone until it was time for my last class of the day. My last class was physical education, a class that I usually enjoyed as a guy but wasn't looking forward to as a girl. I already had a female PE kit that Olivia had given me, so all I needed to do was change into it. I went into the female changing room and tried my best to avoid eye contact with the other girls who were changing there. It was a little awkward, but I don't think the girls there minded. The girls' PE kit was just a pair of shorts with a sleeveless vest top. It wasn't that different from what the boys had. When I was done, I quickly left the changing room and went to wait for the class to begin. When everyone was ready, our PE teacher told us all we were going to be playing basketball. I was initially pretty excited that it was basketball because I was really good at it, but then I realized it was going to be a lot harder to play while in Olivia's body. When we started, I tried my best to do well, but despite my efforts, I just couldn't compete with the others like I normally could. Most of the other people actually trying to play were other boys who were much taller and stronger than I was. I also had to deal with my chest moving around as I ran and jumped around. The bra I was wearing provided barely any support, which made things even more difficult for me. After a while, I got frustrated over how badly I was doing, and I went to the sidelines to just watch the game. When the class eventually ended, I changed back into my school uniform in the changing rooms, and then after that I left and drove home. When I got home, I changed out of my school uniform and decided to put on some leggings with a baggy sweatshirt. The combo was nice and comfortable, unlike a lot of the other clothes Olivia had provided me with. The rest of the day was pretty boring for me. I spent most of it relaxing, thinking about what I would do when I would eventually get out of Olivia's body. I only had to last one more day and then I would finally be in my own body again. I couldn't wait. The next day was also pretty boring and unremarkable like the previous day had been. I only had 2 classes on this day, with a free study period after lunch. My first class was a geography class. At the beginning of the class, some of the other girls invited me to sit with them while we worked. Their conversations were pretty different to the ones I was used to with my own friend group. They talked a lot about the boys they liked and gossiped about other girls. I wasn't super invested in any of the conversations, but I still had a good time. My next class after the morning break was a nice and easy photography class. It was a nice laid-back class where I spent my time taking photos and learning about cameras. When it was finally over, I was free to go home. I drove home and went to my room to relax. Even though I hadn't exactly enjoyed the previous 2 days in Olivia's body, it had been a pretty unique opportunity. After the change tomorrow, I probably would never have the opportunity to become a girl again. Because of that, I decided I should do something fun before I changed back. After some thinking, I decided I would go through all of the clothes Olivia had given me and try them all on. I would then be able to take some cool photos of myself in each outfit. While I wasn't a big fan of a lot of the clothes I had been given, I figured this was a good opportunity to get some nice photos to remember the swap when I inevitably looked back on this time. I decided to start with another one of the dresses Olivia had given me. The dress was really short, only just covering my waist. It wasn't very comfortable either, but I have to admit it looked incredible on Olivia's body. Next, I decided to wear a nice skirt with a bra top. It looked even better on Olivia's body than the dress did. It was stunning. Over the next hour, I tried on everything Olivia had given me. I was also able to get some great photos of me and everything. I was looking forward to looking at them again when I was back in my own body. After my little photo shoot, I didn't do much, mainly just attempting to play video games again. I was still slightly struggling, though, due to Olivia's smaller hands. Eventually, the time came for me to go to bed. The next morning, I would be returning back to my school to swap back into my own body. I slept really well that night, imagining how good it would feel to be back to normal. I was in a really great mood when I woke up. I had a shower and got myself ready for the day and my eventual swap back into my own body. When I was eventually ready, I got in my car and drove to my school. After arriving, I got out and started walking to the same auditorium where me and Olivia had originally swapped bodies 3 days earlier. I told the teacher by the door my name and was let in. I walked up to the seats and had a look around. I was expecting to see Olivia in my body somewhere, but it didn't look like she had arrived yet, so I went and sat down on my own. Eventually, it came time for everyone to swap back, but for some reason Olivia still hadn't arrived. I was the only one there whose partner hadn't shown up. Eventually, the man who had hosted the talk the first time we had swapped bodies arrived and started allowing people to change back. Eventually, everyone had changed back, apart from me, that was. Olivia was still nowhere to be found. By this point, I was starting to get pretty worried. What if something had happened to Olivia? Would I be stuck in this body forever? Eventually, the man gave the final talk about the swap, explaining why what we had done was important and how it would benefit us. Once he had finished, he allowed everyone to leave. After everyone had gone, I was the only one left, so I went down to talk to the man. He was already aware that Olivia had for whatever reason not showed up. We spoke for a while, and he told me that he would try his best to get in contact with Olivia or her parents to organize for us to swap back. That was all either of us could really do at this point. I was told to just go home and I would get a call when I could swap back. It was really frustrating as I didn't want to spend any more time in Olivia's body. I didn't really have a choice, though, unfortunately. I left the auditorium and drove home. Once at home, I decided I would do some studying to try and distract myself from the situation I was in. I was able to get a few hours of study in before I got a phone call from the man I had spoken to before. "Hi there, Adam. Are you free to come down to the school today? I have some things I need to discuss with you surrounding the body swap with Olivia," he said through the call. "Oh, that should be fine. I can come now if you're free," I said back. The man said it would be okay for me to come now, so I left my house again and started the drive back to my school. When I arrived, I met up with the man in the auditorium again. We sat down together, and he started talking to me about what Olivia had done. "Well, Adam, I really hate to be saying this, but I'll get straight to the point. It appears that Olivia has run away from her home with your body," he said. I was pretty confused over what I was being told. Her running away made no sense to me. "She ran away from home? Why would she do that?" I asked the man. "Well, she left a note before she ran away. In the note, she said that she wasn't happy living as a girl and desperately wanted to become a boy. From what it looks like, Olivia ran away from her home with your body so she wouldn't have to change back," he said. I was completely shocked by what I had just been told. "Does this mean I won't be able to swap back into my own body?" I asked, hoping for the best. The man told me that for the time being I would be stuck in Olivia's body. He did reassure me, though, that they were trying their best to find Olivia and bring her back home. If they find her, I would be able to swap back with her and get my own body back. But what happens if Olivia isn't found? I asked. The man sighed, and then began to explain that if Olivia isn't found, I would be stuck in her body permanently. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I was barely holding myself together. as I finished my conversation with the man to leave. All I could do was just hope Olivia would get found, or that she would return home. Either way, I was going to be stuck in Olivia's body for a while. After leaving the auditorium, I walked back to my car and got into the driver's seat. I sat there for a few moments and then just broke down crying. I was so angry and frustrated that this had happened to me. None of this would have happened if my mom hadn't signed me up for the swap. It was unbelievable. After a while, I decided I was all right enough to drive home. I left the school's parking lot and eventually returned home. I then went to my room and continued crying. The next couple weeks were extremely difficult for me. Every day I hoped that Olivia would get found and I would get my body back, but it never ended up happening. I was off school for around a week, trying to recover mentally from the stress of being stuck in Olivia's body. Eventually, I did have to continue going to school, though. I had missed a lot and didn't want to get behind on any more schoolwork. As of right now, I hate to admit it, but I don't think Olivia will ever be found. I will probably be stuck in her body forever. It's a fact that I'm going to have to get used to, unfortunately, no matter how much I wish it wasn't true. The only positive thing was that things could only get better. Fortunately, things can't get worse when you're at your lowest point. Thanks for watching this video. More videos will be coming very soon. We would really appreciate it if you would like this video and subscribe to our channel to support us. Thanks for watching.